welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Well, on today's Vacation Station Parks and Travel Show, we're going trail riding in California's beautiful Sequoia country with trail guide and world champion trainer Christy Wood, who owns Wooden Horse Training Stables in Three Rivers, which is a little art community that is on the river, the Kauai River, and right at the doorstep of Sequoia National Park. In fact, Nancy, you and I have gone riding with her.
It's fun.
It's super cool. It is beautiful, and she knows her stuff, and she kind of turned our minds around about horse riding even.
Well, she makes sure nobody gets hurt, including the horse.
I know. It's very, very cool. And she does this Chief Joseph Trail Ride. We're going to be doing a special show August 1st about it, following the trail of Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce tribe, and where it went to run from, escape from cavalry. And this trail, it's a 13-year progressive trail ride.
Wow.
And she finished the 13 years, and this year she's on her second year of the next one. And we're going to be chatting with her. It's also part about the Appaloosa horse.
Cool.
And which is an American breed, and that the Nez Perce, bred and had. And so we've got Steve Taylor from the Appaloosa Club coming on, and she'll be on the show talking about their recent trek. Or trail ride. So that will be happening in August, but on today she's back on the show, so excited to have her back on. And also we're going to talk about gear for National Park Junkies.
Yay.
Yeah, when you go in, you've hiked and you're all like, man, I love Zion or Yosemite or Pinnacles or Sequoia National Park, and you want a T-shirt to commemorate it, but like you're a junkie and you want to represent all the parks.
It's like getting your badge.
Yeah, but you want all of them. Yeah. So we've got a conversation I had with Jody Cantor. We're going to be airing that. Jody is the owner of National Park Junkies or Wanderlustmark.com. And she actually sent us some gear for Miss Priscilla, our pink sock monkey, our travel mascot. And Priscilla, she looks quite dashing.
She wants to go hiking now.
Does a lady look dashing? Isn't that more male?
Dashing is for men. Daring is for women.
Well, yes. Anyway, she looks stunning. She's a little diva. But the gear is really cool, and she supports the National Parks Conservation Association as well as the National Park Foundation. But this is a great conversation. We talk all about national park travel. And she's been all over.
I know.
All
Isn't
over.
It fun?
I know. I'm a little jealous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always jealous of anybody that's gone somewhere I haven't
Road
been.
trip.
I know. And then this is such a cool thing. Hello, Alvin. Oh, hello. Hello, Alvin. This is such, okay, so when you're traveling and you get sick, maybe it's a flu bug or you ate the wrong thing, drank the water, fell and hurt yourself or something like that. Poison ivy.
That's good.
Poison oak. Yeah, we know about that from hiking, right? And then, you need to get a doctor, or maybe it's not that big of a deal, or it is. Hello, Alvin is there for the rescue. It's like a doctor in your pocket. You can call them through your phone. They can do it through FaceTime, or even an email. They can help you, even send a prescription to the local pharmacy.
So you send them a selfie and they send you medicine?
Yeah, just say, hey, look, you know what? I look at all my poison oak, poison ivy. They can diagnose it over the phone, over your cell phone or email with photos or video. And from there, it's a cool program, not just for travelers, but for people to have, some kind of health care, from home. And the one thing is, you know what? You don't want to go out when you feel sick. So I think this is pretty
really
cool.
Wants to wait in the doctor's office.
Yeah, it's a good place to get sick.
Yeah.
So this is such a cool thing. So Arif Razvi, I chatted with him, and we're going to have his interview on tonight. He's the co-founder of it, and talk about how you can get health care while traveling. It's mostly for inside this country, but there's ways to use it also if you hop the border or catch a plane somewhere else.
Cool.
Yeah. So happy hump day, everybody. It is February 21st. You're listening to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station, our Parks and Travel show, and we're streaming live from Tucson, Arizona, where your hosts Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, a crazy mother-daughter travel team and publishers of 2 digital interactive publications. We've got Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. That's our variety publication. It covers everything from art and music to food and wine and cooking and gardening, home decor, travel, history, nature, family, parenting, business, Anything else? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
It's all in there. It's all about quality of life. You can check that out at blendradioandtv.com. And the March-April issue is about to hit the digital newsstands. So best thing to do is sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get it in your email box. We also publish Parks and Travel magazine, and the new February-March issue is out, so check it out at nationalparktraveling.com. If you go to either website, you'll be able to connect with us on social media and all that good stuff. But are you ready to go giddy-upping?
Giddy-upping?
Yeehawing and giddy-upping in the Sequoias?
Yeah, okay, we're going on a trip.
Yeah, everybody stay tuned. Here's our conversation with Christy Wood over in California, Sequoia country. We're going horse riding. Wooden Horse Training Stables is a full-service stable offering trail rides in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas, and it's in the town of Three Rivers, which is just outside Sequoia National Park. I'm on like 6 miles outside of it, and we're happy to have the owner, trail guide, and world champion trainer, Christy Wood, back on Big Blend Radio today to talk about her trail rides, which Nancy and I have been on. It's an amazing experience, and she's also going to tell us about some of the clinics and events happening this spring and summer of 2018. And you can go to her website. When I say Wooden Horse, it's wdnhorse.com. And you'll also find her profile page on nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Christy or type in Wood on horse, and you'll find her. So welcome back, Christy. How are you?
Well, thank you for asking me to come back. I'm doing great.
Hey, we love what you do because I think, Nancy and I have been on different trail rides around, the country, and it's like I'm always worried about what happens when people go on a trail ride and the quality of, not the quality of the horses, but how the horses are handled and taken care of, and who's taking you out, because it's suddenly like you get on a horse and someone's like, hey, yeehaw, let's go galloping through the fields, which some people think it's great. But when we got out to see you, it was great because we hadn't been riding for a while, and it was like you made sure that we were comfortable, and the horse was comfortable with us, and we knew how to ride, a little bit. Even if you're a beginner, you go through some basics, and you wouldn't let us out of the gate until everybody was comfortable. So I really appreciate that, because I think there's a lot of places you can go on a trail ride, and you really do have to watch out for the company you're working with. So we always appreciate having you on the show to be able to talk about the importance of running a good establishment in regards to horses and people.
Well, Lisa, the bottom line to enjoying a horse is safety. That's my paramount word of knowledge, is safety. And so if I can instruct you and give you some fundamentals, then you're going to be safe, and you're going to have a much happier, enjoyable ride, and you'll have a great partnership with that horse for the hour that we go out.
And it's so cool. And you go in the you took us in the foothills, and you can see the mountains of Sequoia National Park. And so, are there different trails, or do you have do you choose a different trail according to the season? What happens with that? Because I know when we went with you, you took us and we saw ruins and all kinds of cool things. But does it change per season?
Well, it does a little bit, because we live in a town called Three Rivers, and that's a good name for it, because there are 3 major forks of the Kauai River that flow through this town. Depending on the year, they may flow with increased volume depending on the rain flow and the snow melt. So I do have one trail that crosses the river. I prefer that people have a little more experience in handling a horse across the river. We do have 3 or 4 foothill trails that are very enjoyable. You can see our valley oaks and our mountain oaks with views of the mountains, and just some really picturesque rolling foothills. We see some wildlife, anywhere from fox and bobcats to coyotes, and even deer on the trail from time to time. So seasonal is important. Most of the time we can cross the river and do the foothills, except for the early spring. If the runoff has an increased volume of water, we definitely don't cross the river.
Now, what about wild turkeys? I know you get to see them once in a while.
Oh, right? Yes, I left off the wild turkeys. I apologize. They'll never forgive me, will they? There are 2 flocks, actually. There's one on either side of the river, and the flocks have anywhere from 10 to 15 hens that we see on a regular basis.
That is so cool. And so if you've never been on a horse, you can go on a trail ride with you. I mean, where's the balance on people's experience with horses and even age?
Well, there are a few variables for us. Of course, I work with my insurance company. That's very important to keep people safe. And if you don't have any experience, that's why we spend a little more time in the arena, giving you the fundamentals, so you have a knowledge of what it is like to literally guide a horse. That's what riding really is guiding them. They become a willing partner with you as long as you show some capability of guiding them correctly. They'll carry you down that trail, but they really look to you for the guidance of just how fast they need to travel and in which direction and things like that. So we will take people out that are beginners. We do have a weight limit. We don't want our horses are not capable of carrying anybody over 200 pounds. That isn't a regular rider, and even youth riders, if they're under the age of 12 and they haven't had any riding experience, we have a flat river trail that we can take people on, and then we offer a wonderful introduction to horses for ages 4 up to 12 with some grooming and showing them how we get the horse prepared to ride, plus the instruction in the arena, even some trail obstacles that they can take their horse through. And then again, we have the flat river trail that keeps everybody pretty much just safe, and they can have an enjoyable ride following the river, not crossing it, but without going up and down the foothills. So the more experience you have, the more experienced trail I will take you on.
Awesome. And when you think about these trail rides, it's something we all think about when you're on a vacation. It's like, you want to go on the beach with horses if you're in Mexico kind of deal. Or, hey, we're in the Sequoias and the Sierra Nevadas. How cool. Do you ever take people into a park? Is that a no-no with national parks? I don't even know if you can. Is that a possibility?
You probably could. We prefer not to because it's such a long drive up there. And in order for us, of course, to take people into the park, we have to trailer the horses up. And the shortest route going in from the south entrance through Three Rivers, I can only take up a 2-horse trailer. My big, large 4-horse trailer cannot take that route, so I would have to go all the way down to Fresno and then back up again. It just isn't feasible for us. We enjoy showing people the foothills of Three Rivers, and that's where we like to focus our trail rides.
Well, I think this is so important to talk about, too, because, as you know, with what we do with the national parks and gateway communities, we're always trying to get people to understand the parks and the gateway communities and how connected they are, and to balance out their vacation so that, yes, go into the park, but also understand the communities around the parks, because there is a strong historic tie, there's a natural tie, and the people and all these other activities that you can do. I think it's so important to balance out and just get to know people and do these things like go on a horse ride out in the foothills, because understanding the foothills, even going with you, I got this whole different perspective of the park and the how the land is and the habitats and the landscape and how everything comes together by being in the foothills on horseback. So do you see that if people have been up into the park and then come down and do a horse ride with you, do they get that kind of experience? Like for me, I just thought it was like this different perspective of the land.
Well, they certainly enjoy it, and I give them a little history lesson anyway of Three Rivers. It has its own unique background in its history. And matter of fact, the street that I live on, North Fork Drive, was the original park roadway. Actually, it was a stagecoach, I should say. It was a stagecoach trail, was the North Fork Drive. And people could leave Visalia, take 2 weeks to go up into the park, and it took them 2 weeks by stagecoach. So there is some historic value to the street that I live on, and of course Three Rivers has a wonderful museum as well. So when you leave the park, you can find out how people discovered things in the park, and of course the route was through Three Rivers, the gateway community here. And our community does survive on tourism. It's such a small community, and living this close to the park entrance, that's what keeps this town alive.
And it's really cool. And go, everybody, I want to say go all seasons, because there's something to do all seasons. Winter, spring, summer, fall. I know a lot of people come out in the summer, but spring and fall are amazing. In winter, I mean, there's just this peacefulness in winter. So I encourage people to not always go in the peak season if you can. I mean, I know everyone's, career and job may change that, and schools and whatever, but if you can go in the fall, I think when we hung out with you, it was in the fall, and I remember because of the fall colors, and you get that different, another perspective, right? So
right.
So do you do horse rides all year long, or what happens in the winter?
I am full-time year-round, and so that's what's wonderful about being in the foothills is I'm not dictated by the severe weather that can be up higher at higher elevations in the park. There are a few pack stations deep in Sequoia National Park, and they're almost 3 hours to get to. So, and they are strictly seasonal. They don't open until after May 31st and close around September 1st. So we are year-round, so people can enjoy.
And I know that. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to say people can enjoy horseback riding with us year-round.
I love that, and that's that part of the balance, because I think it's lighter on the park, the footprint, that we put in as the visitors, to try and balance it out a little bit. The other thing too is I know that you are a world champion trainer. You also exhibit in jumping and trail, and you have students that are world champions too that are part of your show team. You're a winner in extreme trail obstacle challenges. You're a show judge with 7 breed associations. And I just want to brag, okay, because we've hung out with you.
Go ahead.
You've been on our party shows, and you've been on the show talking about your epic Chief Joseph trail ride that takes 13 years to do the entire trail, and now you're on it again. But you're also an author of Your Best Horse Show, a guide for managers and exhibitors, and also the children's book Ranger, The Little Horse with a Big Heart. And all those books, the 2 books, are up on Amazon, so go check them out. And, of course, go to also Christy's website again, which is wdnhorse.com. What got you into the world of horse? Because I know as a kid, man, I was all into, Black Beauty and, horses. My walls were just nothing but horses on the walls. Every calendar with horses was torn up and pasted up there. And
that's right.
And we had horses when I was a child, and it was like they were like the life. And, horse poop smells like gold when you're into horses.
It sure does.
You don't care about horse pee, no matter how strong it is, you like it.
It's an addiction, but it's a good addiction. And was it Winston Churchill, I think, that said the best thing, or was it Ronald Reagan? Gee whiz, I can't remember, but he said the best thing for the inside of man is the outside of a horse. And that's the way I feel about that. It's I've had a connection since I was a very young little girl, and matter of fact, my mother and father said my first word was horsey. I was just enthralled with them and just madly in love with them, and no one in our family really had any history or background. And, it depends on how some people believe, but I really believe that God said he needed a horse trainer in my area of where I was going to be working and living, and he gave me the talent. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's a talent and it's a love, and it's all combined together to be able to communicate with a horse and partnership with one, and you both give 110%. And it's a fabulous communication. And then being able to take those feelings and that ability and put it into words and try to help other people and train other people so they can experience that as well.
It's to me, it's people getting around a horse, because there's a fear element too. Some people are scared, but then there's also that element of horses being part of therapy for people too. I've seen a lot of
yes.
Yeah, it's like this communication with animals. I think we need that. And
well, the animal has a sixth sense. They live in a world that is all about senses and what Mother Nature has given them to survive and communicate as well within themselves and other species. And it's fabulous to be able to learn each other's language. So you have to have enough patience to observe the horse and understand how they communicate with each other, how they observe their world, and then be able to form a language between the two of you so that they can understand. And if you have enough patience and aren't in a hurry to train a horse and to push them beyond where you think, try to put the round peg in the square hole kind of thing, you're going to have an amazing result. You're going to have success with your horse if you have enough patience to give them a chance to learn the language.
And and you both have to learn each other too. Now you can look at your horse and know what your horse is thinking, right? You can sit and look and you get it, right? When you start to know your horse, you can look in their face and you can see this is what's going on. There's that communication where like Nancy and I, as you know, Nancy and I mean,
yes.
I could be 2 rooms down from her, and I know exactly what's going on. You know what I mean? She could look at me across the room, and I know what's going on. And that's the same thing with when you have the connection with your animals in your world.
Right.
You know, whether it's a dog or a cat or a horse. When you start to know each other, you know each other, and you don't need to say anything actually at half the time, right? That's different.
Well, that's because you've observed each other, you've lived with each other, you're interested in what actually interested in the welfare of the other person, and you find common bonds and common things that you enjoy, and that's why you're able to know each other so well. And your horse can be that way with you as well.
I want to touch back to the trail rides because, again, Nancy and I both were so, can I be honest, completely relieved.
Oh, please.
I mean, when we came out and Leah Lonnie over at Three Rivers B&B, she was like, well, you got to go meet Christy and do this when we'd first come out to the Sequoias and started covering the area. And we were like, okay, you know, we're really nervous about horse trail rides because you don't know, like, how you understand the industry, right? And so we were nervous. And we were so relieved, we were giddy, like at the end, like super giddy. And when you put us out in the ring and you're like, okay, you guys have to all be comfortable, and we're like, good, because it's been a while, but like, oh my God, you actually care about the horse, you care about the people, the safety, like you're talking about that communication and how to do it without, you know, hey, let's just get on a horse and go giddy up and go crazy and be city slickers in the forest, you know, that doesn't happen. Yeah. Then we were like, oh my gosh, like, I don't think we've been on a trail ride like what you've done and what you do. It was like both of us felt like, oh my gosh, okay, we're going to rethink our attitudes. And when you meet someone who makes you rethink, I think it's always important in life because you can knock something off the list just because of a bad experience.
Right.
And we've seen more than one bad experience and been through it. And I just was like, this is so cool, and I get to hang out with horses, and you're cool. You're a cool person. You know the area, the land, and the trees, and the bugs, and the birds, and everything. Yep. But at the same time, once we got through that and we're actually on the trail and comfortable and starting to understand the horses' personalities, who wants to do what on the trail, who wants to be at the beginning or at the end, you know, or keep doing that, you know, then what got to me was, you know, because I'm a big into hiking and walking and into that. But the other thing was this is a different experience because you're also experiencing it through an animal that has been walking through, you know, the natural world for gazillions of years. So it becomes this whole other experience than if you're walking. I always thought like that is like the key thing. You're walking, you're it. But now it's a little different because you can feel the horses' senses when you're going through an area. Right.
Well, see, I care about you, so I wanted you to have a good, pleasant, and happy experience. And then I also care about my horses. So if I can train you to communicate and understand how they're going to move, you're going to have a better partnership with them, then my horses will be happy being out on the trail with you. And there won't be any, you know, imperfections or impasses that you can't handle together. That's what I want I want you to enjoy it as much as I do and as much as my horse does.
Because they do like to get out, you know.
Yes,
they want
do.
To go out they want to go out into nature too, and if everybody's well behaved, then it's a good time. You know, if
that's right.
If they're being good, then they're going to have a good time, and they're going to, it's going to be cool. So the other thing too is you teach, and that's I think so cool as well. I think yes, you do trail rides, but I know in spring you've got and actually have a whole list going all the way through June, July of different events that you have. So I just want to say that's another reason to go to Three Rivers. I mean, do people come out to go to clinics and then go, wow, I didn't know Three Rivers was here? Does that happen?
Well, most of the time they come to my clinics because they want to learn, or the horse camps they want to learn. And then when they come here, most of the time, especially with horse camp, with it being 4 days long, people will rent an RV or come up and find an Airbnb and stay for 4 days. Really enjoy Three Rivers, enjoy the park, and all the things that we have to offer. Plus the horse camp and the clinic. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everybody.
What a cool way for a family to come out and do things. I actually saw a Facebook post I was going to say about a week ago or something, that you did a clinic and some lady was raving about it and was like, this is the best weekend ever, and I was like, I remember as a kid going to like horse camp and it's like this whole new thing, and you're in this new environment, and it can be something with your family involved or not, so it's kind of neat, so if the kids come with you, but with your camps, I was looking the first one coming up this year, March 26th through 29th, 2018. You have spring horse camp, and you say ages 7 to 77. This is an introduction to horses, so tell us about that. I mean,
right?
It's
kind of unique when you put the age limit on there, because people are going, oh my gosh, really? I said yes, because we've had grandmothers take it with their grandsons. We've had a grandmother that always wanted to learn about horses, so she took the camp with her grandson, and believe it or not, she was riding a horse every day. We've had mothers and dads take it with their children, and so that's why I opened it up, because when you're on an even plane as far as I'm concerned, when you've never been around horses before and it's the very first time. So this horse camp is designed as an introduction to horses for beginners. And most of the beginners can be anywhere from the age of 7 up to 77. We actually had three not elderly ladies, I shouldn't say that, but we had 3 ladies in their 70s that always wanted to go to the Grand Canyon and ride the mules down into the canyon. And they were smart enough to know, we have never ridden before, we have no idea what it's about, let's go to Christy and take some lessons or take her horse camp. And they came and took the horse camp, and it was the greatest experience. They gained a ton of knowledge, and they had more fun on that pack trip down into the Grand Canyon because they were prepared for it.
And that's something I know that what you do with the Chief Joseph Trail, I mean, this is epic. Like, okay, so I want to get into that a little later, but you do these big trails, and so that's something that if you have a little confidence, then you can actually enjoy it, and you can be part of the actual experience instead of like, I'm so scared I'm going to barf. You don't want that experience. But I want to go back to this. You know what I mean? Because
yes,
the
I
horse
know.
picks it up and then it goes through. Everybody feels it.
Right.
If someone's nervous in a room, you feel it. And if you're nervous around horses, everybody feels it, and so does the horse.
Right. Well, here's a simple statement. Knowledge is power in anything that you do. So I've never snow skied before, so I don't want to head up to the top of a mountain and someone gives me all the equipment. They say, all right, we'll see you down at the bottom, and I'm going, that's my barf situation right there. I don't want to go skiing if I don't know how to do it. I want to take instruction, and I'm that kind of person that likes to know ahead of time what to expect and how I can kind of channel different things that are going to happen and what happens if this happens, and I want to be prepared. I've just always been a person that's been prepared. When you go to show horses and compete, we just don't walk out in the show arena and try to show a horse. You prepare months, years in advance. It's kind of like a sub-Olympics in a sense when you go to compete and show horses. We want to be prepared because obviously we want to win. So you want to be on the top of your game. You need more knowledge. So you seek out somebody that can train you for that. The same thing with these horse camps that I do, or the riding lessons I do every week, or the ladies group that I have that meets once a month, and the trail rides. I mean, we need to get our horses prepared for the extreme trail rides that I do, like the Chief Joseph Trail Ride.
And I know that you also, okay, so let me just back up here, everyone. So there's a summer horse camp, and that's June 25th through 28th, 2018, and then the spring horse camp, March 26th through 29th, both 2018. Since we're a podcast, always make sure the year is out there so people don't show up in 2020 going, wait, the date's
Well, we'll
wrong.
still be doing it in 2020. That's okay, but the dates might change a little.
I know. I know. You're never going to stop. You're like the ever.
No, I never am.
Bunny, but on a horse. So those are the 2 clinics coming up.
Well, those are horse camps. Let's use those are horse camps. Yeah, there's one clinic that I do once a year. That's in April, and that's a trail challenge clinic. And what that is that's a lot of fun. That's for people to come pretty much with their own horse, so that they can become a little more skillful in working their horse over unusual obstacles. Sometimes you say extreme, but these are going to be unusual because there's a lot of different trail competitions that people can go do nowadays and have a lot of fun without being on the A circuit, which means the highest ranking horse show circuit. These are a little bit below that, and just for people to go have fun. You don't need any special equipment or a You just work your horse over different obstacles. So what it is, it's a challenge to them, to the riders, to learn how to be a better partner with their horse and going through this different course of obstacles that I set up. I have 3 arenas going at one time, and it's just a lot of fun. You can come and audit that clinic without being on a horse. You can come and observe, ask questions, and of course your lunch is included and everything else that we do in our clinics. We have raffles and we have a wonderful silent auction.
I heard the food is good. That's the other thing I saw on that Facebook post, that the food is good.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, I'm coming back for one of that, for that. But so this is the Trail Horse Challenge Clinic, everyone, April 21, 2018. I'm just looking on your site on this. The other thing too, the Trail Horse Challenge, you know about being on the trail and anything can happen. And I want to touch on this, and then we've got a couple of events that you're doing that I think are amazing for the Wounded Warrior Project we'll touch on. But the Chief Joseph Trail Ride, you were on our show. I think we've talked about maybe once or twice now, right, about the Chief Joseph Trail Ride, because it does go through national park territory, but it brings a lot of Native American heritage, U.S. military heritage into it, and also the landscape. And so this trail that you do takes 13 years, and you do one piece every year, so it's like a progressive trail. And so tell everybody who Chief Joseph is, because I know you're going to be doing this in the summer, and we're going to follow up on part two of your second time doing this. That's 2x2.
Part 2 will be after the trail ride.
Yeah.
Here for the summer.
Yeah.
Well, Chief Joseph was a peaceful chief. He was actually a chief of the Nez Perce Indian tribe that was based out of Wallowa, Oregon. And of course, back in 1877, they discovered gold out west, and more white settlers were coming out wanting to settle the American West, and unfortunately they kind of infringed on a lot of Indian territory. And as we all know, our history of the cavalry and the military trying to take the land from the Indians, basically, and putting them on a smaller piece of like a reservation and changing their ways. So Chief Joseph actually decided that he'd rather live in freedom than live under white man's rule, and he took 900 people and 2,000 of his Appaloosa horses. And by the way, they were the tribe, the Nez Perce Indians were the tribe that developed the Appaloosa breed. And when I say developed, they actually were the first Indian tribe to geld inferior stallions, because they knew good conformation and good-minded horses, and that's what they wanted to enhance with their selective breeding. But anyhow, they eluded the cavalry for 1,300 miles. The chase was on. The cavalry chased them because they wanted to get them back onto the reservation back in Oregon. And Chief Joseph and his band of Indians and men and women and old folks eluded the cavalry for 1,300 miles, and they ended up 40 miles below the Canadian border being captured. They were on their way to Canada to find sanctuary, and unfortunately they didn't make it all the way. But this is a historic trail that we follow, and it takes 13 years to complete the ride. We ride 100 miles every year, like you said. With a progressive ride, we move camp every night. But we ride over the Nez Perce Historic Trail and over some private lands that people definitely open up their land and their arms to us to let the historic ride come through once every 13 years. And, I have a saying, you can get in a car and go see what man has made, but you've got to be on the back of the horse to see what God has made. And we cross some amazing country that you'll never see any other way except on the back of, I have to specifically say, an Appaloosa horse, because you have to ride a registered Appaloosa on this ride. That's how we honor the Nez Perce Indian and the Appaloosa horse.
So when you do this ride, do you have to stick it out the entire 13 years? Or you could, like if I said, hey, I got an Appaloosa, found one somewhere, can I jump in on the third leg or come visit you on the second leg of your second, complete trail ride?
Exactly. Yes, there's no rules that say you have to start year one, except that's just me. That's how organized I am.
I'm
14 years ago, I wanted to start at year one and go all the way through to the 13 years.
I want to do the whole thing.
And I did. And I did that all on the same horse, my wonderful horse named Dollar. She carried me over those 1,300 miles. What a fabulous horse, and she's still with me today. But the ride started over again last year for the fifth rotation of the 1,300 miles, and it started over last year, and now I am riding her half-brother. His name is Buckley, and he's carrying me now on the next 13 years.
Wow. And you help people, too, with this trail ride, don't you? Like with horses?
Well, I do. I actually lease one horse a year. I have a wonderful, fabulous trail horse. Matter of fact, I think you or your mom rode Cowboy when you were here.
That's right, and I remember Cowboy.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, Cowboy goes on the Chief Joe ride every year with me. I usually lease him to somebody that needs him out. There are some horses that are available for lease because you have to ride a registered Appaloosa. But you don't have to start. You can start any year you like. You can hit and miss a couple of years. It's just up to you. If you accumulate, whenever you accumulate your 13, they actually give you an award for finishing the 13 years. That might take you 15 or 16 if something comes up and you can't make it one year or something like that. And it's just a great ride.
Do this, like, I know Nancy and I, we've talked with you for a number of years about, like, we want to go meet you guys on camp and kind of follow it a little bit, and one day it will happen. I mean, we have 417 national park units in our country to explore, and we've got to that point of, let's do it all in 5 years. But just to zoom in and zoom out, then you miss the stories like your story. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And so for us, it's like, so this is what we're doing for the rest of our life. So you just do it as you can. You know, just do everything you can. You can't rush it. You can't rush a good ride. Just saying, it's the true thing. You know, it's. I think what you're doing is amazing, and you bring this experience to people. Because do you get people that come in that have always wanted a trail ride, like the ladies you're talking about, the wise ladies that have been around for a few years that know everything. You know, they come in and maybe, and this is something actually I've seen of people going into national parks that they've never had the opportunity, and they hit their 60s or 70s, and they're like, I'm retired now, I can go to a national park. And they may never have hiked before, seen a sequoia tree. Nancy and I were in Mount Rainier National Park, and we were getting ready to hike with all these really young hikers that were like super fit, and then some of the adults, and Nancy and I, hung out at the back. But we watched this lady, and this has never left Nancy and I. I wished I photographed her and talked to her, but we had the whippersnappers with us. This lady was, I'm going to say in her 90s, but looked with it, and she had walking sticks and was taking, like, obviously a big deal for her, and it was the wildflower season was incredible, and she had like a grandson or son with her. And she had to do literally one step at a time. So she had obviously come out of a walking thing or a wheelchair. And her face of joy, of complete awe of the nature, the wildflowers, and seeing the views. And we were at the very beginning of the trail. But the fact that it felt like this was something, like I just wanted to sit there. And this thing of her probably wanting to do this, either returning to do it, or she's always wanted to, and
or maybe she did that in her youth and she wanted to come back and enjoy it again.
Exactly. There was that one step at a time, and each step took something. I thought, God, that's actually a really important lesson for us all, right?
Well,
and
people
so
get driven.
Yes.
They get driven for this. This becomes a part of you. This ride. There's so much about this ride. There's the history. There's the history of the breed. There's the history of the people. And once you get on this ride, in modern day people, basically everybody that's on this ride, every year I look forward to seeing them. It's like my own tribe. It's my own family reunion. I love these people, and I love riding my horse through over this terrain again. And even seeing it now for a second time, I've been picking up different things I didn't see the first time. I'm driven to be there every year. It just draws me there. I love the history. I love the Native Americans. We actually have Nez Perce and Sioux Indians that ride with us, and to have them share their culture with us and to share their heritage. This is their history as well. This is a very poignant. Yeah, this is a very poignant ride because it's very emotional. It's a healing ride for them because they lost their ancestors on this ride as well. So we share in that pain with them, and then they're rejoicing that people still care enough to want to relive this and do this ride continually.
I love this. And so, and the other part, like, real quick, where's your next part of the trail so everyone knows? And we're going to have you back on the show this year. We're going to continue this story. We can't let this story drop.
All right. Sounds good to me.
So you've got it under our skin now,
Good. I hope so. Well, we're going to talk a little more about that in detail, Lisa, about getting you on the ride. There's a way we'll get you there and get you through it and have you experience it. But the ride starts in Tolo Lake, Idaho this year. It's the second leg. So it's and Tolo Lake is about, I'm going to say, 5 miles south of Grangeville, Idaho. And this particular leg, if anybody goes and looks at the Nez Perce Trail, and follows that, they'll see a loop very shortly after the start of the trail, and that's what this is. This is a loop that they did to try to confuse the cavalry. They actually, the Indians were smart enough to know how they called it milling their horses. They would send their 2,000 horses off in one direction and then send the people another direction. So the cavalry would follow the horses and not necessarily the people. And so they did this loop this year, the year that's coming up this year, to confuse the cavalry, and it worked. It bought them more time. So they were very good strategists, actually.
And so now that's what's happening, and we'll catch up with you after your trip this summer. But at the same time, you never know if we can fit another road trip in and come see you for that first night and something. But so we'll keep up with this year, everyone. So stay tuned for that in summer. Like you'll probably hear it from August or September. We'll follow up on this because I know this is July when you go out.
Yes.
But I wanted to say, going back to the lady that we saw in Mount Rainier and the people that go back on this trail ride, when you see someone come in to see you in Three Rivers to go on a trail ride, do you see a lot of people that have always wanted to be on a horse, that are scared, number one, but have always wanted to, and now they're at that stage of their life, no matter what age they are, like maybe in the 60s or 70s, that says, that's it, I'm doing it. I'm finally going to do this no matter how, because there's a fear element. It's the unknown,
Well, sure there is. I think over 50% of the people that come and do a trail ride with me have never been on a horse before. There's a romance, I think, that draws people to horses. I think Hollywood has a lot to do with it. They make it look very easy when they see a Western and people are riding, and everybody just wants to give that a try. And so a lot of people don't understand really what's involved. It's one thing to sit on a horse, but you're also now sitting on but you're sitting on a moving object.
You get there, you're like, you're not getting on there and going, yeehaw. There's none of that.
No. And so, yes, and you have to have a calmness about you. That's why we give you the instruction to create that calmness, because the knowledge needs to be there so that you can guide that horse down the trail. This is not just like sitting out in front of Kmart on the little horse that you put a quarter in and he gallops in place for 20 minutes. I mean, we're really dealing with up and down hills, crossing water, a horse that has choices to make. And these horses are very well trained, and their choice is to listen to the person sitting in the saddle. So we need to give you enough knowledge and fundamentals to get you into that position so that you can guide that horse. And then you really won't have any fear. You'll understand how it all works, and you'll have a pleasant ride.
Right on. And you will. I mean, it's beautiful. And just having that connection and understanding, and that you got to smell the horse, man.
Oh, yes.
I love that. So everyone, again, okay, so the horse camps, March 26th through 29th, and then June 25th through 28th, and then the Trail Horse Challenge Clinic is April 21st. But you also have these fundraisers that you are doing for the Wounded Warrior Project, which hats off to you, because, this is such an incredible program. And we need to do everything we can for our folks coming back home who have served.
You bet.
The first one is April 12th through 15th. You have a fundraiser, but it's a yard sale. So, tell us about that.
Yes, we have one of the largest yard sales probably in Tulare County, and we've had it for that same weekend. It's always the second weekend of April. There's a big jazz affair that goes on in Three Rivers. It's a Dixieland jazz kind of a concert. And so we try to connect everything together, but we do this huge yard sale. We get amazing donations from people that are closing down antique stores, and they know what we're doing, so they donate all of their really wonderful items to us. And the reason we did this is basically started in 2014. I wanted to thank our military men that are coming back, men and women that are coming back, and that have given their life or a limb for our safety. And the young people that ride with me, that take riding lessons, I really wanted to instill in the young people how much they needed to be thankful that they have the freedom to come here and ride a horse every day. And the young people today don't really understand that. And I said, we're going to pick a charity, and this is what our goal is going to be. And so what our goal has been is to raise $15,000 for an all-terrain wheelchair and give that to a veteran and change his life, and then stay involved with his life the rest of his life. Thank him. So we're trying to raise $15,000. I've started this since 2014. As of now, I have $6,500 raised, and we've done this just from yard sales. We do a car wash in July, and then actually during the Trail Challenge clinic that I have, I do a silent auction at the end of that clinic, and all that money goes to Wounded Warriors. So we just are picking away at it. We're doing the best we can to raise that money, and we're going to be real excited. We're going to see it happen eventually, get that $15,000 and be able to change a veteran's life and thank him.
You know, and I think it's so important when individuals like yourself going out there and doing these kinds of events, or just saying, I'm going to do this. I don't have to be the nonprofit. I'm just going to go and do it. I think we actually need some individual goodness like that, more of that, and people can get on board, whether it's like, here, I'm donating this, I'm doing that, oh, get my car washed. Like, now I feel like July 7th, everybody, it's a car wash. Go to Three Rivers. Maybe that's what Nancy and I will do. We'll get up there on July 7th, get our car washed.
All right.
Because the car always needs washing, because we're always on the dirt road somewhere. Car needs to get washed, and then we'll go meet you on the trail up in Idaho.
There you go.
Good time, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's all those little steps that happen, and I think, and I'm really glad we're talking about this, because it's the magic that happens in communities that often people don't see. It's always put into, this is the community section, but I think it is a showcase of what Three Rivers is, and you're representing your town and the people in your community and the greater community of Tulare County, not just Three Rivers, by doing this. And Three Rivers, you have Hero Appreciation Days that go months that, January through March, and then it culminates in March with the bathtub race, which is super cool. Everyone has to check that out. So I think it just shows what a great community Three Rivers is. You know, a lot of people would never think, here's the artsy community outside, it's a complete art community, and people like a organic farming community, and horse riding community, nature community, and then, hey, we care about first responders, those who are still serving, and those who have come home. I mean, that just shows like a broad picture where you can't bullet point it into, no pun intended, into like you're this political person or that. It's like, no, we care, period.
Yes. I'm just going to share with you real quick. It was very poignant for me. A year ago, my dad passed away. He had a wonderful life. He was 95 years old. His name was Lou Seeberger. And at his funeral, I'm going to try to get through this without being choked up, but the military people came out and gave me his flag. I tell you what, that is an emotional experience, and it's such a proud moment. And I have that in my living room every single day. And I look at that, and my husband has served in the military, my brother served in the military, and my dad was in World War II. And I want to just give back. The way to give back is to help a veteran that gave more. I mean, a lot of them give their lives, yes, but here's some people that have come back and they have a life, but their life isn't 100% anymore. But they've done that for us. And I just there's my heart. My heart is with the Wounded Warrior Project, and our goal is on the wheelchair. They say, you keep your eye on the ball, or our eye is on the wheelchair. And that's what we're going to make happen.
I love it. And you know what I think is so big picture about you is that you're looking at the Wounded Warrior Project, and then you look at what the U.S. Cavalry did to Chief Joseph and his tribe, and it's like you're open about what, it's like you look at history and today, and it's like, hey, this is what happened in the past, this is what's happening now, and at the same time, I salute you for getting people outside and touching the dirt, because number one, you're never going to get on a horse and think that you're going to be all Prada style. Get over it. And I think I'm just saying, get over it. You can, I suppose, but you got to do some laundry. But to me, there's this thing that happens where, like I talk about the smell of horse, and it's like people get addicted to the new car smell. Who cares about that? The smell of horse is far better. And we need to have those natural smells more in the world. And I think that people need to have that. We've become these little boxed-in creatures with attachments, and our thumbs are just working that instead. Oh,
that's right. They're attachments to all those little devices, and people aren't going outside and seeing the real world. They're looking at a screen most of the time, and they don't interact with people. And they certainly, unfortunately, the electronic age has brought us to a point of where people want instant gratification, and so a lot of people aren't willing to work and invest the time that it takes to be a good equestrian and have a partnership with a horse. It's all instant gratification, and so
I love that, the partnership. I love that you say the partnership. And you're getting outside, you're touching the dirt, and once you start experiencing dirt and outdoors and that vulnerability, and you have to conquer the vulnerability through the partnership with the horse, then you're actually going to understand even more about those who have served and have to go into these different situations all the time. You know, I'm not. You know what I mean? It's like I think that you've come full circle in what you're doing. It's amazing, and you've got a challenge on for people. So I love that. I always love a good challenge. So right on to you, Christy.
Well,
thank you so much. Number one, how you're running your operation of horses and people connecting, having a partnership, understanding each other. Safety first, love that, and also just giving people an opportunity to see the Sequoias in a different way. What you're doing with the Chief Joseph Trail Ride, we can't wait to follow up with you after your next trip, your second leg of the second entire 13-year journey that you're doing.
Yes, for me, second year, the 15th time, or excuse me, the fifth time for the ride itself. It's going into its 54th year, I think, of existing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're going to do some stuff. I know, we're gonna look and create some special shows on it too, because I think we want to talk to the Park Service and also the Appaloosa Horse Club that is all part of this, and the museum that you were telling me about earlier. So we're going to do some special segments on that, everybody, this year, 2018 through 19, and however we can do it, we're going to do it because Christy challenged me. That's that. No, we care about it. But thank you
Lisa.
Again. I know, right? Everybody,
yes.
WDNHorse.com, of course, stands for Wooden Horse, so check that out, WDNHorse.com. Also, we have all the events. We're going to be listing them on nationalparktraveling.com. You can see that. Just type in Christy and Horse, and you'll find her. And also, again, it's right outside Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, and you're traveling out there, go for a trail ride. It will change your life. It's awesome. So thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you, Lisa. I love chatting with you, and God bless you, and we'll talk again.
Back at you, lady. You take care and go pet a horse for me.
I'll go kiss one. How about that?
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
On my back porch, my guitar in my hand, and I'm looking at the afternoon, I'm looking at the land. It's got that honey-colored light, golden rose reflecting from the sun. Steps outside and asks me, what are you doing, hon? And I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. Got an angel in my corner, must have a Buddha at my side. And if I had any worries, I've left them all behind. Maybe it's the time of day, maybe it's the light. Blame it on the air I'm breathing, but I couldn't feel more right. And I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. I'm loving the land. I'm just loving the land. On a simple corner lot in a humble town, waiting for the sun far. Molecules and galaxies and mystery and bits of stars. And I'm just letting go like a leaf to the wind. I'm floating on a feeling, I'm just giving in. And I'm loving the land, I'm just loving the land. I'm loving the land, I'm just loving the land. This land is your land, my land, from California to New York to the Fiji Islands. I'm loving the land, I'm just loving the land.
Everyone, that was Wally Lauder, a local musician here in Tucson, Arizona, and he loves the land, and he's been traveling. I know that he just got back from Zurich and traveling around Europe a little bit. So welcome home to Tucson, Wally. Well, are you a national park junkie? Have you been bitten by the wonderful Wanderlust bug? It's the best bug there is. Well, from Who Rags and bandanas to T-shirts and decals, Jody Cantor started an online store just for you, and we're excited to have her join us on Big Blend Radio today to talk about her park adventures as well as her company, wanderlustmark.com, or you can go to nationalparkjunkie.com. And her company also helps to support the organizations that preserve and protect our parks for future generations. Welcome, Jody. How are you?
I'm good, Lisa. Thanks for hosting me.
Hey, we're excited about this. I think what you're doing with your company is exciting to really just, hey, park lovers, here's some T-shirts for you that encompasses all the parks on there, and I love maps, and you have that, and it's exciting. But I wanted to start with, actually looking at national park travel. Is this something you did as a kid, and it's become a habit from when you were a young child?
Yeah, I think, you hear the same story resonate through a lot of people. They go to their first national park, and right away they're bitten. And, that happened to me when I was younger, much younger, and I did go with my family. But then we kind of stopped going for a while, but I knew I always had that kind of laying dormant inside me to go back. And so when I was older, in my 20s, I went with friends. And when I hit that first national park in my 20s, when I could really appreciate it as an adult, that was it. And I knew that that's where I belonged. And every summer since then, I've made it a point to go to at least one national park, sometimes two if I could fit it in. But, yeah, that's usually where my travel now revolves around, is hitting the national parks.
That's awesome. Do you know how many you've been to? Because I know you're in Chicago based, so I think isn't the closest one to you will be like the Pullman, but that's like a historic district. So you're looking at going on like hiking adventures, right?
Yeah, I'm a big hiker. I am in Illinois, which is the prairie state, so we don't have a lot of mountains to look at here. So I tend to gravitate more to the western national parks, but I don't focus on them, wholly. I'll go across the country. But
nice.
I'm sorry, I forgot what you asked me.
No, it's good. Yeah, I know. I was like, it was just as soon as you start talking about parks, I'm like drifting off into Bryce Canyon, and next thing you know, my mind's in Yosemite. It's like we should be off on a hike right now.
Yeah.
How many do you think you've been to?
Oh, how many went to? Yeah, I think I've been to 27. I'm not a check off one and done kind of person. I know there's a lot of people that want to hit all the parks. There are 59 of them right now, and I've hit 27 of them, but several of them I've been back to multiple times. I can't get enough of Zion National Park. I can't get enough of Glacier National Park. I've been to the Rocky Mountains several times. So, again, gravitating more to those western mountains.
Yeah, the mountains are. It's so humbling. I mean, when you look at those just huge mountains, and Zion is incredible. I want to go. There's that hike where you're like in like this little rock canyon thing where you're actually walking in a river in the canyon. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the narrows.
I've heard. Yeah, that's it. I want to do that. Have you done that?
I have. I've not gone all the way through the canyon. I think you can actually do that in a couple of days hike kind of a thing. I spent an afternoon there and did a portion of that canyon. It's beautiful. The red rock above you, the water flowing, through your feet. It's an incredible sight.
I've heard that there's wild orchids that grow out there, and I want to see that. That's what blows my mind. Like when we went to the Everglades, and I could just there apparently you can go and camp on these like little jetty things out in the water. And I think that's got to be interesting with pythons and gators and crocodiles out there. I want to do that. These little, like, I don't know what they call them. I can't remember the name. But, the Everglades, when we were going around there and hiking around there, I mean, it was so interesting to see bromeliads growing in trees. Like, you see them in garden centers and everything, but to see them as wildlife, like wild plants, I should say, not wildlife, like animals, but to see them in their natural habitat growing in trees, these beautiful tropical plants, that's what amazes me about Zion, having its own orchids. You wouldn't think that in the high desert, So to me, it's always amazing, that kind of thing that we see hiking around is seeing just the plant life. What is it for you? It's the mountains for you specifically?
Yeah, I tend to, really like the mountains, but then, when you get into Utah and the parks that they have there, to me are more, the rocks and the canyons, and there's just something about that desert spirit there. I'm sure living out where you live, that you kind of connect with that. But stumbling across, like you said, in the middle of the desert, the dry desert, you come across these plants. They're just growing wildly out there. It's just amazing to see, and water, falling and flowing. It's like, where does this come from?
Yeah. I know.
But you mentioned the Everglades.
Go ahead.
I would say you mentioned the Everglades too, and that to me, even when I go back and look at my pictures from there, it still takes me by surprise the different variety of birds and plants and trees that were out there, and the fact that you have got alligators and crocodiles kind of just walking around all over the place is incredible too.
Did you do the Ahinga Trail? It's like that little boardwalk, and there was like gators and ducks floating next to them. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
isn't that crazy?
It was crazy. And they're right there. I mean, you literally are walking. It's bizarre, and here's all these. I mean, I remember seeing a mommy gator and all her little babies, and they're sunning themselves, and I'm like, don't mess with them, man. Don't mess with the mama. But I mean, and all those. I mean, talk about the tropical plants and the birds. I mean, the birds there are just. I love that park. I want to go back so bad because I love the swamps. I think they're cool.
Yeah,
I really like them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like I say, I kind of gravitate more to the mountains, but then when you go to a place like the Everglades, or even you go to Acadia, and you just see different things, it's just every park has something to offer. And that's why we always joke, it's always hard to pick a favorite because every park is so beautiful in its own right and has something, new to offer.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Acadia. It's something we've never been there yet, and I can't wait. Our goal is to go to all 417 national park units, and I know we thought we could do it on a 5-year trip, but we're like you. We kept going back, like to the Sequoias.
Yeah.
We kept going back. Excuse me, Yosemite. We kept going back, and it was like we're like, okay, we're never going to make this goal, but there's so much to cover. And we've had to balance it out because you could go to one park for the rest of your life and still not learn everything. And I think
That's
it's so
true.
neat because it's protected and all these ecosystems and all you can really study things properly. But Acadia, I want to do that. Isn't that where the people go to the top of a mountain and go and see this amazing sunrise?
Yeah, Cadillac Mountain it is. Unfortunately, when I was there, it was all cloudy every day, so we'd get up early to try to go see the sunrise and never got that full effect because it was always cloudy when we were there. But other people's pictures are amazing of the sunrise there.
Oh, awesome! So you've pretty much done all four corners of the country. Have you come out to the southwest, like below Utah?
Yeah, I've been quite a bit. I still I did up in the Northwest. I did Olympic, but I didn't get through North Cascades. I didn't hit Crater Lake, that I still need to get to up there.
Man, I know.
And then the ones, of course, off the coast are hard to get to. Like if you go back down to Florida, off to Dry Tortugas, I haven't been there. The harder ones to get to, the Hawaiian ones, I've not yet seen. Those are on the bucket list still.
Ooh, that I know the bucket list. We all have these big lists. You know what I mean? I have maps all around me, and that's one of the things. The first thing I saw when I was looking at your T-shirts, you've got the map, and I'm a map freak. It doesn't mean that I know how to not get lost, because I do that very well. I have a thing, and I'm anti-GPS. I know that I should use it, but there's something about getting lost. It's a good thing. It's a fun thing to do. But I love maps. And you have all the parks on there, and it gives you this idea. And as this, our conversation now, it just is always mind blowing to me. We have swamps in the Everglades, we have mountains over here, we have coastal forts. I mean, Dry Tortugas, you're off on an island with a fort. I mean, it is absolutely mind blowing, the land that we have in this country, how diverse it is. But when you put it all on a map like that, it's wow, think of all these different places like Zion and, this high desert and saguaros. And what are you going to do when there's another, national park made? I don't know if we're going to get one for the next few years, but,
I know.
Are you going to go and change the design?
Yeah, they do keep talking about it, and it sounds like that there might be two bills that are being, trying to be passed right now. One was to make Indiana Dunes the 60th National Park, and that's nice because that's close to us here in Illinois.
Yeah.
And the other one just came up recently, I think a day or two ago, was the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, to turn that one into a national park. So, we hear all the time that they're trying to, get these passed, and, I try to limit the inventory that I have right now in stock because I don't want to buy a ton of stuff and then they change it. So I wait like everybody else. I'm excited if they do add the 60th. I'll be happy to change my design and, put a new one on there. I think it's great for, the country. I think it's great for, people like us who love the outdoors to add a 60th park. So it'll, hurt me with the inventory that I have. But, hey, then we just put that on sale, right?
Yeah, because people still, it was so funny because it was right before the centennial of the parks, and when we had decided, okay, let's do the tour, it was 2013, and when we'd started the tour, I think it was it was 2012 when we started to go on the road, 100% with our Spirit of America tour, and Priscilla, our pink sock monkey, who loves wearing your gear, she loves wearing the hoorag as her dress, so people, you're going to see a lot of photos of Priscilla over this year going to different places. She's going to Bourbon Country in Kentucky, so that's going to be interesting.
Oh,
You'll
very
see what
good.
happens with her. Yeah, we'll put her in Mammoth Caves and see how she survives that. But when you think about all these parks, I remember there was 397, and everyone was talking about the 397, and there's some other park sites I know that we're friends with, and all of a sudden it changed, and we got into now we're 400 and something, and everybody's scrambling. I know a company that their whole business was named after that number, and I'm like, well, you may not want to do that. But we're always having to change, the number. And I mean, as we're on the road thinking we're going to do 397, suddenly it's no, now you're at 417. We're like, thank you, this is cool. We like it. We like those changes. But people wear those old numbers because it's it shows part of our history of progression of protecting these places. So I think it's a good thing, when we add on it. We need as much of that. I know that you're also a teacher. So going to parks, do you have a connection with that, thinking about the future generations, since that you work with kids and our youth, are you always thinking of that as well? This is a great hiking spot and this is so beautiful, but is there that mindset as well? Because I know you also, through, your sales, donate a percentage to the National Parks Foundation and also to the National Parks Conservation Association. So is that part of your mindset, is looking at the youth and parks?
Yeah, absolutely. I teach 8th grade, which is such a fun age. And I do have some kids who have never, been out hiking, have never been to a national park. So, after I travel in the summer to a park or two, then I come back and start a new school year, and I tell my students about the places I've seen and the wildlife I've seen, and I try to get them encouraged to get out to a national park. I just think it's important. I feel that, we're better people for having been out in those places. And if I can get them out away from the video games and away from social media to get out into the great wild and the unknown, it's a wonderful thing. And it is important for us to give back to the Park Foundation. Even before I started the business, I was always, donating to them. And when I go to a park, they have the jars out there, give money to the parks. I do that. I buy all of their merchandise, their pins, their banners, their decals, their T-shirts as well, just because I want these places preserved so that I can continue to visit them, and then certainly the next generation and the generation after that can continue to visit them.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you do that with your company. I think it's such a positive role model, for the business world to look at that. It's like, my Nana always, when it comes to gardening, she's always talking about you plant one parcel for you, one for God, and one for nature, because you got to divide it out, because you always just say, oh, it's just all for me. It's not going to work, and you're going to be upset all the time. But I think there's such a nice balance, and I always get excited to see companies like that. What gave you the idea to say, hey, I'm a teacher, I'm out hiking on my summer vacations, and suddenly like, hey, why didn't I just start start something else, another career, and add a business to my life?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy too, because after, every summer, like I said, going to the parks, and I would come back fresh and renewed, and I'd start a new class, and, you introduce yourself to your students every year. And I always told them I was a national park junkie, and I would tell them about the places I went to and, my travels, like I mentioned before. And when I do go out to the parks and I visit them and I buy their T-shirts, I was always then starting to look for one that said that. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I had a T-shirt that said I was a national park junkie? And I had been looking for that shirt for years, and I could never find one. So I was like, well, how about if I just create it and see what happens? So we really kind of started the business around that one design, which is our best-selling design by far. But then, I took the business with the whole hiking footprint, the wanderlust, the where will you leave your mark, and I have that aspect too, so I can grow in different areas, not just the parks, but just hiking in general, just wanderlust in general. But, it just started for me wanting the T-shirt that I finally created, which was in my head for so many years.
I love the word wanderlust. That's one of my favorite words. That and biodiversity, those are my two favorite words.
Yeah.
When it comes to parks and land. And, it's interesting because you talk about, there's that take nothing and leave no trace, but you're like, we do leave a trace. And when you talk about leaving your mark, it's really your footprint. It's not necessarily like, hey, we're leaving trash everywhere. I want to touch on that because you're talking about like a piece, you always take a memory with you, and you become part of the land. You become part of that landscape when you go there.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the park's, mantra was take nothing, leave nothing. And I firmly believe that. But part of me was like, well, I do feel like I take something, because every time I leave a park, part of it comes with me. It's in my heart. It's in my soul. And I feel like part of me was left behind as well. So that was kind of where our whole where will you leave your mark came from. It's not in defiance of the park's mantra. It's just showing that, we do take something and we do leave a little bit of us behind as well. Certainly not our trash. We take all that out.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, we do leave, with the park, and we do leave a part of us there as well.
And talking about your gear too, you've got, the National Park Junkie and the map, and so you've got T-shirts, and everyone, they're nice. They're I like the material on that, and the Who Rag. The Who Rag is fun. Now Priscilla wears it as a dress, but they haven't been around that long, and you can wear them in all kinds of ways. I mean, you can use them around your neck. I mean, you've got bandanas, but bandanas and Who Rags are two completely different things.
Yeah, our bandanas almost are kind of decorative than they are your traditional wear them. Although I've had people, wear them. They're wearing them, and they actually even put them around their dogs and things. But for us, it was more decorative. I've had people frame them. I've had people wrap them around corkboard, highlight the parks that they've been to, stick pins in the corkboard from the parks that they've been to. So it's more decorative that way. The Who Rag was really meant to be the wearable, and that one is, kind of like it could be a headband, it could be a scarf, it could be, a face protector. There's a dozen different ways to even wear it on your head, which is kind of fun, depending on your hair, your hairstyle, or your mood. You can wear it whatever way you want. So
I need
anything
use it
for a bad
hair day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
use it just when I'm out running. I use it, to run. In Chicago, it's cold, so I'll use it as a face protector when I run in the cold. So it comes in handy.
Yeah, I like that. And then the T-shirts, and I think it's cool because you are out there, and you kind of connect. I bet you that it becomes a conversation piece. Now, do you find people stop you when you're hiking with your gear on, and hey, I want to be a national park junkie?
All the time. Every single time I wear that shirt, it elicits some kind of conversation from someone. And it doesn't matter if I'm in the grocery store or I'm in the Narrows in Zion. People that get it, and they want to talk about it. And so it always starts a conversation whenever I wear it. And they're great conversations. Park junkies are fun people. They've had fun experiences. They can recall their last trip with great nostalgia, and then they talk about the upcoming trip with equal enthusiasm. And they make for great stories and great conversations. And usually then I pass a business card off and make a sale just in that conversation as well.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And the decals, too, that's pretty cool because you can put them on your water bottles. My immediate thing is to put them on a guitar case. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You can put them on everything, and I think it's something really cool because to have that wanderlust, and as a teacher, if kids had that on their pencil bags, I don't even know if they have pencil bags anymore. When I went to school, it's like, here, keep your dreams of still traveling and exploring. I think people have to have that reminder because we get into that world of behind our screen all the time, and we forget capture that essence of who we are. That's that free spirit we're all born with, is to go and explore. So that's how the world was founded, was people flying, and not just flying, but going across on ships and exploring, these big expeditions. Right. So, I think it's exciting, So I love your whole wanderlust part of it. It's a cool thing. Where is your next destination? Where's your next park that you're going to go to?
Yeah, I oddly don't have a trip right now for spring plan, which is coming up very soon. Just haven't had a chance to plan it, but I am looking out towards summer and heading back to Alaska. I've been to Alaska twice, and I've done, Glacier Bay in Denali, and I love bears, and I think the best place to go and see the bears would be to Katmai National Park in Alaska. So I think I'm going to pull that one off sometime this summer.
I'm going to be glued to your Instagram. I love following you on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Everyone keep up with Jody there. And everyone will find you. That's under Wanderlust, right? For everybody on your social media.
Yeah, because Wanderlust is, it's such a common word now, especially it's really kind of popping up everywhere. So I couldn't put my social media under Wanderlust, though that's the name of the business. It's under Wanderlust Mark. So on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, you'll find me as Wanderlust Mark, which is kind of the play into the tagline, where will you leave your mark? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and everyone, if you go to wanderlustmark.com, you can, connect to all the social media, because I think we all have a thing about it. It's like wake up in the morning with your coffee and look at everybody's park visits, and it's hard because when you go to a park, you just want to like give everybody the entire album and say, look at this,
I know,
look
right?
at this bug, look at this over here, So it's exciting, but I am super excited. I have never been to Alaska, and I have wanted to go to Alaska, since I was a little kid. I really want to go there because Dean, natural environment, it's calling me. It's going, Lisa, you must come. You must come out here. Have you been to the Sequoias?
Yeah, I went there last summer actually, and that was
cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
Did you see bear? That's what I was going to say, because when we were there, we saw bear in the spring, and I love going on the shoulder seasons like spring and then fall. And we went hiking around one of my favorite places, this Crescent Meadow area. I mean, I love meadows. I'm just I could just get in there and roll like a bear in the meadow. All the wildflowers and everything. When we were hiking around the meadow, and we heard this scratching, this like loud, and we're like, what is that? Well, it was all the bears scratching on all the dead trees, getting the worms because they were all getting ready to hibernate. Well, we came across a mama bear and her little cubs. Oh, my gosh. We were so lucky. So she just let them out of there, but we're like, okay, you don't want to get too close to a mama bear.
Right.
But did you see bears when you were out there?
No, and I was so bummed because we kept talking to people, on the trip, and they would be like, oh, did you see the bear in the valley? Did you see the bear, in the meadow? I'm like, no, I just came from there. It just seemed like we kept missing bears. And so it was a beautiful trip. We did, Yosemite, we did Sequoia, we did Kings Canyon, but I did leave after that week having not seen a bear, so I was a little disappointed in that. But the waterfalls made up for it, and the trees made up for it.
Oh, and you went last year, you said? Perfect, because they had all that big snow over the winter, and it was oh, thank goodness. And they were pretty dry before that. And we were there a year before you. We went to Tacoma, I think it was called Tacoma Falls, and it was this it was just like this marble granite outcroppings. It was amazing, and there were marmots everywhere, and I love that park. I love it out there. And Kings Canyon is. Did you do Zumwalt Meadow in that area?
Yeah, just to drive alone through Kings Canyon was beautiful. I don't know what my expectation was of it, but it exceeded it.
A lot of people call it Little Yosemite because of the big, canyons. I mean, it's just so glacial, So a lot of people call it Little Yosemite, and I love it out there. It's just so beautiful, and we've done pretty much every season other than and we've been there in winter too with the snow. It's cool. I love it. And Yosemite, we did Yosemite in the snow too. It was really neat. Have you done any of the parks in the snow because it's just so quiet.
Yeah, I know, and that is a big goal of mine to hit them, in these different seasons. Being a teacher, I'm kind of locked into most of my travels are, over the summer. But when retirement comes around, rest assured, I'll see them all in the fall and the winter, because it offers you, different things to go in those different seasons. But typically I am more of a summer traveler.
Yeah. Oh, I see you with a big RV. NationalParkJunkie.com. It's like everywhere she goes, she'll go to campfires, look at my T-shirts. I got decals. If you need a rag, just come over. Come over to my RV here.
We had people that stopped us in Great Smokies because we were wearing our T-shirts, and I was like, well, I do have a couple in the car. They're like, we'll follow you. So I went to my car. I had some in there, and actually sold some right there in the parking lot, which I'm probably not supposed to do, but it was only 2 shirts.
Hey, America, it's a land of free enterprise. I love it.
Right.
I love it.
That's awesome. It's kind of a neat.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it was kind of a neat story too. When we were in Alaska 2 years ago, there was a man that came. He was like walking by the bus that we were getting on, and he had my shirt on. And we got off the bus, and because I didn't know who he was, it was a total random stranger, and I had been in business less than a year. And there I was in Talkeetna, Alaska, of all places, and this guy goes walking by our bus wearing my National Park Junkie shirt. So I hop off the bus, I go over, I introduce myself to him. I'm like, can I please take your picture? And he was just so warm and receptive, as all park people are. He just thought it was a cool story too, and we shared pictures together and swapped information, and it was just a neat moment for me because, like I said, I had been in business less than a year, and there I was in Alaska, and somebody walked by wearing my shirt. It was crazy.
That's cool. That happened to my mom, Nancy. Because she's a wildlife artist. That's how we ended up in Kenya and all over the world, trailing around into all these areas. And she had done I can't remember if it was a giraffe or it was a lion cub, I think, a pen and ink sketch. And somebody had basically stolen her art. And we were in Kenya, and I think it was Nairobi, and I can't remember the story 100% like she was, but we're walking down the street, and this guy walks by with a T-shirt with her art on it. And she's like, excuse me.
Oh my.
That's my picture. And he was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And she's like, hello, look at the name. Here's my, look at my signature. And somebody was profiting off of her art. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, in the middle of Kenya, of all places, there it is.
Yeah.
Someone's walking around with her art. It was just, it's amazing where T-shirts go. And it was just, and then when you're in Kenya, this was in the mid '70s. Like, how are you going to fight that when someone is in the States doing this? You just kind of like,
maddening,
oh well.
Though.
Yeah, someone just totally stole it. But I mean, T-shirts travel, and I like it because I think what you've got is such a positive message out there. So I really like what you're doing. So congratulations on getting this started and getting it out there. And I can't wait to see what's going on in Alaska. So I'm glad you're going there. And if you need spring, you're welcome to come out here because right now it's the first week of February, and it's spring here. We got flowers. The brittle bush is starting to bloom, and we don't have winter here in Tucson anymore. It decided to leave us alone and go see you. So if you want to come down here, please do. It's beautiful.
I know. I like your pictures. Here. They look nice and warm compared to the view that I have now.
Well, I think it's cold if it goes down to 50 degrees or even 70. To me, it's cold. So I wouldn't do very well in Chicago or Illinois. But we are going to get out to your area soon. You've got a lot of parks, around surrounding the whole area. So, and I hope that arch in Missouri does actually, the St. Louis does actually become a park. I think all these parks, if we can have more parks in urban areas, the better for kids and for people to have some walking space and even preserving the history, so I'm hoping that does come to fruition. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, you can go to nationalparkjunkie.com and from there go to wanderlustmark.com. And then I know that some of your shirts are in actual national park stores. Do you want to tell everybody in case they're traveling there this summer?
Yeah, we're actually in 4 different national park stores. We're in Zion at Bumbleberries. We're in Bryce at Ruby's General Store. Great Smoky Mountains, they have our shirts at Ranger Bob's. And then in Rocky Mountain National Park, we're at Moosley Tees. So they've been selling our shirts for us as well, which is very exciting.
Excellent. So you see that happening more and more as your business grows, that you're going to have more retail outlets for people too.
Yeah, I'm hoping, to grow that, a little at a time. Like I said, I'm a teacher by day, so, I try to just pick up a store here and there, and these 4 have been really receptive and have been selling quite a lot of shirts for us, actually. They exceeded our expectations in their sales, so it's been fun. It's been a great learning experience for me, and I just love the fact that our merchandise is connecting with people that love the parks, that love being out there and hiking and, connecting with us.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, again, nationalparkjunkie.com or wanderlustmark.com, and on social media to follow Jody and her park adventures. And Alaska coming up, go on Wanderlust Mark on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks so much, Jody. It's been a true pleasure.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate it.
Very cool, all these park travels that Jody's doing, and I've got a song for her. We're going to play Oh Alaska from the singer-songwriter Robbie Boyd, based out of England, but he does a lot of travel as well, and you can keep up with him at Robbie Boyd. You just Google him. He's all over. He's on Twitter, and get his album, So-Called Man, is one of our favorites, but this song, Oh Alaska, is one of my favorite songs about one of my favorite places I haven't been to, and Jody will be there, so here it is. Enjoy, and then right after that, you're going to hear about how Hello Alvin is revolutionizing telehealth and how you can use it on the road for any of your healthcare needs. Well, most of them anyway, not anything major, but that can help you if you, like we were saying earlier, if you're hiking and end up stepping in some poison oak or poison ivy, things like that. So stay tuned for that. But here it is, Oh, Alaska.
Oh, Alaska, won't you give me shelter and take me under your wing? Oh, Alaska, I heard you're the last great place the earth has ever seen. Oh, Alaska, won't you take me somewhere I can go to get a change of pace? Oh, Alaska, can you paint me a picture of your beautiful embrace? Dreaming of home, can you see it? I've been here for too long, can you feel it? I'm moving home to the last frontier. Well, if you gotta move on, let me hear it. You got to be strong to achieve it. We'll do it our way on the last frontier. Oh, Alaska, I'll look north to the future. That's how I want to live my life. Oh, Alaska, be mine. Mother Nature, I can't wait to see your northern lights. Oh, Alaska, come a little closer. I have nearly reached your silver shore. Oh, Alaska, you're not like the others. You can show me what I'm looking for. Dreaming of home, can you see it? I've been here for too long, can you feel it? I'm moving home to the last frontier. Well, if you gotta move on, let me hear it. You got to be strong to achieve it. We'll do it our way on the last frontier.
So maybe it's that one beach vacation you've been dreaming about, and it's finally that time, or maybe it's hiking through Yosemite or Sequoia, Kings Canyon National Parks. No matter where you're going in the world, it's finally that time, and get on the plane, and that sick dude next to you decides to give you his flu bug. How nice of him, that wonderful gift. And then next thing you know, you're stuck in your vacation rental, and you're like, who do I turn to? I'm really not feeling good. We have got a solution for that. Arif Razvi is joining us. He is the co-founder of HelloAlvin.com. He's joining us on Big Blend Radio today to talk about how this online service has changed the way people can access quality health care while traveling. And I love this, especially for park travelers, because I know there's so many hiking accidents at times, or, maybe just stubbed a toe, but what to do, or you got the flu from the plane. You never know. I do encourage you to go to the website, HelloAlvin.com. Welcome, Arif. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
I've got to say, okay, before we go any further, I want to know, Alvin, why did you pick Hello Alvin? Who's Alvin?
It's a great question. People ask us that a lot. The name Alvin actually means your noble friend loved by all, and it was one of the reasons my co-founder Joey Trisselli and I chose that name, because it really embodied what we wanted to be as a healthcare services provider to consumers, and we wanted to be their noble friend, and we wanted to be loved by all, and we wanted to help people get better faster and for less money than they're doing today.
Well, I know we won't even get into the whole healthcare discussion, but this is something that everyone should look at. Number one, whether you're traveling or not, check it out, because I think this is I know what it's like to get sick, and it's that thing too. Like I said at the beginning here, you have these dream vacations. It could even be your honeymoon, and next thing you know, you're sick and you're in a different place. You don't know who to call. Maybe it's a small town. It's like, okay, is the doctor open on a Sunday? What do you do? And it seems to me that you've really filled that gap. That what do you do? And I've been through those circumstances, and a lot of times it's like, too bad, you're sick.
No, it's you're absolutely right. In fact, prior to founding Hello Alvin with my co-founder, I spent a lot of time on the road. In fact, I'm a million miler on United, so I spent a lot of time in hotels and strange cities, and I can really relate to the fact that when you're not in your hometown, it's often difficult to find out where to go, whether it's the urgent care, or do I find a doctor, or I'm in a hotel, I just don't want to get out of the bed, so I'm just going to stay here for a day and sleep it off. And it's one of the reasons why this service is so convenient for travelers, is because, within a matter of minutes, you can literally be speaking with a doctor on the phone who can diagnose and prescribe medication to the nearby pharmacy for you. And if it's not urgent, if you don't need a live doctor consult, and our live doctor consults are in partnership with Teladoc, which is the largest provider of telehealth physicians, you can use our 24-hour registered nurse line and speak to a nurse at no charge. Or maybe it's not that urgent, and maybe you just want to send a photo to a doctor and figure out whether hiking through that trail you got poison oak or poison ivy. So you can snap a photo, send that picture along, and a doctor will respond back in a matter of hours with a diagnosis via email. So there's a number of ways that travelers can use the service to help themselves or a member of their family, because families are included in both of our annual and our monthly service subscriptions.
Yeah, because this is a subscription, right? And so I know it was looking like it was, $15 a month, so it's something very affordable compared to most health insurance services at this point. So I'm just saying, and this is different than insurance, and I want to make that clarification, because I think a lot of times there's traveler's insurance, medical insurance, there's all these different programs. This is, you don't even have to have insurance to use this, right?
That's absolutely right. In fact, the only requirement is just that you have a credit, debit, or another way to make the payment. And the monthly fee is $20 a month, but and that gets you access to all three of the services I talked about: the 24-hour nurse line, the email, a doctor, and also allows you to have a live video consult with a physician. And that fee is just $15 on our monthly plan. Yep.
Okay, so do you take our information first? Because I can imagine, I'm going hiking, and maybe it's poison ivy, but maybe it's an allergy issue to something that I didn't know I was allergic to. Do you have our medical information first before we start traveling?
So when you sign up for the service through Hello Alvin, there's a couple things that happen. One is as soon as you sign up, you instantly get access to the 24-hour nurse line and the email service. And then you are made eligible to use the Teladoc service. That happens in a short period. And then once you're eligible for the Teladoc service, you just simply put in your medical information. In fact, I walked somebody through it over the weekend, and she said it was incredibly simple. She had just to put in what if she had any allergies and your standard sort of medical profile. But that's saved with Teladoc. That is saved. So you only have to enter it once, and you can enter your dependents and your spouse. And so when you're traveling, it's merely a matter of clicking a button to make a consult request, and and requesting a doctor, and within 10 minutes, a doctor will either call you back or also can video chat you back if you feel like that's going to be a better way to diagnose what you're feeling.
And here's the thing, too. How many people are traveling around and don't even, it's like how many people really do their regular doctor visits? I'm just being straight up honest. I know there's going to be gazillions of people. I'll do anything not to hang out with a doctor because I don't like the white coat thing. That's just, but so I really like this idea of a video chat or go through email or phone because they freak me out. I get scared, but I do. But how many people even have all their medical records, especially when you travel internationally and things? So is this in a way also like if something happens that if you do end up having to go into like an ER or something like that, that people can actually look at, you can say, hey, here's, talk to the doctor. They can look at the files that you have put in there because maybe a lot of people will start putting in their information through here versus sometimes always going through a doctor if they're not seeing someone all the time.
Well, part of what you're talking about is what's called an electronic medical record, and while that's not the service we provide, as part of your teledoc experience that we provide, you can store a lot of medical information, and if it's the only way that you're seeing a doctor, so for instance, there's still 30 million uninsured Americans, or even those Americans who maybe like yourself don't see the doctor as often. Maybe the only way you do see the doctor is through, the teledoc service that we provide, and in which case that would be all stored information. In fact, the individual I helped this weekend, she was really surprised that amount of information that was provided back to her by the doctor when she wrote the prescription. She also provided links to websites for the CDC about, the viruses and stuff like that. So it's not really a way to store your medical information, but if it's the only way you've been receiving care is through these physicians, then you can have, a list of all the things that have been treated by these physicians at your fingertips.
And this is the other thing, too, because you're able to get a prescription filled through this service, which I think is really, it's amazing because, like I said, you could be, when you think about hiking in certain areas, and there, of course, National Park Service, I always talk about this, 3/4 of it is, or 2/3, I should say, is historic sites, but there's still always a hiking trail or something that you get on an airplane and you can get sick at this point because you're trapped in that little environment. You're out there in the world. And, when something happens and you could be in a town, these smaller communities, sometimes you can get somebody, sometimes you can't. But there's always like a nearby pharmacy somewhere within an hour or so, and at that point maybe even where you're staying they can help you. So this is something where they can actually give you a prescription, like it goes to the pharmacy, right?
That's right. So as when you have that live doctor consult, they can absolutely send a prescription to whatever pharmacy is closest to you, and that's very convenient, especially for people who are traveling and maybe they forgot their inhaler, maybe they forgot their asthma medicine, maybe they forgot their child's asthma medicine or inhaler. Those are some of the most common things that people actually use that service for, is because they're traveling and they forgot to pack their prescription, or they're traveling and their prescription ran out and they just need a quick refill. So really think about the cost and convenience of being able to get that prescription or get that refill in literally no time. And oftentimes those consults are, it takes, like I said, about 8 to 10 minutes to get the doctor on the phone, and then literally those consults can be done in about 10 minutes. Your prescription is sent automatically to the nearest pharmacy, and that's it. You're done. You're feeling good.
No, what happens if you get a toothache? Because that's happened to me, and that is not cool. Like, because you have your favorite dentist and everything, but what happens if that happens? Like, ow.
Yeah. So teledentistry is obviously, I think, the next emerging market for telemedicine in general. Right now, the biggest barrier to the biggest barrier to dentistry is that it is a very physically involved thing, and the doctor oftentimes has to go in and likely look at the tooth. What you can do, though, is you can actually email a dentist, and you could provide a photo of if there's swelling or redness around the gums or bleeding or something. You could provide a photo, and the doctor could advise you via email on some things you could do in terms of gargling with salt water, or take 2 Advil every 6 hours. They could provide some level of medical care to get you through until that point where you could actually go see a dentist.
Wow. So, and what about families? I mean, to me, this has got to be one of the biggest things for families, getting those, someone on the phone to help you at this point, because how many, trucking a family over to urgent care is not a fun thing to do. And so especially when you're traveling and you don't know who to call, it's like, Nancy and I, here on Big Bend Radio, we traveled for 3 years nonstop in this country, and going from national park unit to national park unit, and sometimes like things would happen. You're like, okay, who do we call? And it's like it starts at 2 a.m. So that's the thing for families. At 2 a.m, are you going to wake the rest of the family up or leave them in a hotel? You know what I mean? If it's not like a huge emergency.
That's right, and you're absolutely right. And I think the biggest fear people have is being, away and not in the comfort of their own home environment and having to deal with a medical situation. And that's a scary thing, right? So especially when it has to do with maybe your children. And so by allowing people 24 hours a day to have access to medical care at a really low cost is, I think, invaluable for a number of reasons. One is obviously the convenience of not having to go anywhere. You can literally make these calls from your home, your office, your, while you're in your RV, or at your hotel. Yeah, and for a really low fee. I mean, there is not a place that I've been to, and I've been to a lot of places where you can find a doctor that's going to a highly skilled, qualified, 20 years experienced doctor who's going to call you back in 10 minutes for $15.
Okay, no matter what time in the morning it is? Like it's 2 in the morning, okay?
Time.
Okay, so,
absolutely. In fact,
I'm go ahead.
In fact, over the weekend, my friend who I helped was at 4 in the morning, and she had a doctor on the phone within 10 minutes. That's
crazy. You don't get that. I mean, I've been to the ER, and it's like I had a broken arm, and they let me in there for I don't want to talk about how many hours,
Ouch.
And it hurt. No, it was in the middle. It was actually around this time of year, in the middle of January, and it was cold. It was a swimming pool accident, and next thing you know, I'm in the ER, and they had to do surgery and all this stuff. But I had to just sit there and wait, and they had to cut my clothes off because I was so cold. It was terrible.
Oh my
and it was like,
gosh!
No, you couldn't, and I couldn't talk to anybody to even. There was no communication, and I would have done anything sitting in the ER waiting room to just talk to somebody. Just to know what's going on. And I think there's a service with that. You can end up in an ER situation. I remember when they were even wheeling me into surgery, I was so freaked out about anesthesia. Like, they're going to put me under. What happens if I wake up? And I couldn't get the information I wanted. And I would say, this service would be a cool thing just to be able to talk to a doctor and say, look, what happens when you go under? I want to know what happens.
Exactly.
Well,
and you raise a good point, too, which is, telehealth doesn't solve every medical problem. So, if you did have a broken arm or, something that required immediate emergency care,
right.
That's not what we're for, right? We're for that
right.
Acute minor illness that creeps up, like you said, from traveling or just, feeling run down or having the flu or cough or cold or sinus infection, things like that. But you're right. There's a distinction between what we can provide help for and what an emergency room can provide help for. But to your point, you can get a lot of answers without having to Google symptoms at no charge just by sending an email off to a nurse or, to a doctor or calling a nurse real quick and asking some questions.
I think it's really invaluable because sometimes on the internet we create problems that we don't even have. It's like, oh, I've got this. Now I'm dying from this. You know what I mean? You look at things and you're like,
right.
I don't know. And you should get it checked out. And I think this is such an invaluable thing, especially when you brought up RV travelers. And I know a lot of people retire and they get in the RV. And I know I have a lot of friends. It's part of that tiny house movement, RV. Hey, we're going to live around the world. We're in that world now where you don't really have a family doctor anymore. You're on the road. Why not? And there's just this huge community of people doing it. They're traveling, they're writing blogs, and off they go. So how do they even keep up with the family doctor and getting prescriptions? Like, I know blood pressure is a big deal. If someone doesn't have their blood pressure medicine, that's a big deal. They can hurt. It's not fun. So I think that's another
right.
part, right? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And you're right. Listen, people want to live the lifestyle that they want to live, right? And they shouldn't be burdened by the fact that, access to a doctor is hard. And so we're trying to make that easy. And it's not just RV travelers, it's people who live in even rural communities that don't have immediate access to care because it's so far to get to that doctor or to get to that urgent care. And even in big cities, I happen to live in New York City, but in other big cities, parents who have to take hours out of their day, out of work, or take the kids out of school to go see a doctor at times that are only convenient for the doctor. Here's a way that now you can steer when it's convenient for you and not when it's convenient for the doctor.
Exactly. And we're in that world. I think this is so interesting how the Internet has changed. Our magazines, and we started off in print in South Africa and came over here and continued on this journey. And as soon as we saw the Internet happen, we're like, this is so huge. And then, of course, there was the bursts and the bubbles and all that good stuff. And then it came back. And I know you've been in this industry for a long time. What was it that said you know what, I'm going to move into the telehealth side of it and use the Internet and this power? What was that spark of creating, Hello Alvin?
Well, I firstly, it's a great question. Firstly, I grew up in a family of doctors. My dad was a cardiologist, and he actually opened one of the first urgent care centers in our immediate surroundings out in Massachusetts, where I grew up. And you're right. I grew up in technology, and after I left my last job, I was looking for something to do that would have a little bit more meaning in my life. And it just so happened I ran into my old friend Joey Trisselli, and he told me what he was thinking about doing and had started, and I said, I love this. This is great. This is awesome for people. And it sort of provides a little homage to my dad, who passed away about 6 years ago. And it's like I can now do something in healthcare, I think just like my dad would have always wanted me to do.
Nice. So it's like you're the connector, between the person that needs the help and putting them with the nurse and the doctor that they need. So everybody, go to helloalvin.com before you go. What happens when you subscribe? You want to give everybody the complete rundown of what they get for a subscription and what happens once you log in.
Yeah, sure. So real quick on the monthly subscription, it's $20 per month, and it covers the entire immediate family. It provides access to a 24-hour registered nurse line that is bilingual. We have an email service that allows you to email doctors, nurses, dentists, pharmacists, ask your questions, send your photos, and you'll get a real response from a real doctor. And then finally, if you actually need a live doctor consult, for $15, you can have a live consult with a board-certified U.S. doctor. There's over 3,000 doctors in the telehealth physicians network, and they're available to you within 10 minutes. Our annual plan includes the exact same things. It's $100, but the doctor visits are $45. So it's really geared toward individuals who maybe don't see the doctor very often or don't need the doctor very often, whereas the monthly plan with the lower doctor visit fee is really geared toward families who may see the doctor 3 or 4 or 5 times per year. And both plans include all 3 services, and they are available 24/7. It's easy to sign up. All you need to do is put in some basic information like you would when you're buying anything, your name, your address, gender, birthday, pay the annual or monthly fee, and you're good to go. Click submit, and you'll get some emails from us and give you more instructions.
Are they going to make me stand on a scale? Sign up.
That's a great
be honest
news.
about my weight.
They won't make you stay on a scale. They won't make you stand on a scale.
I just got to ask. Okay, and lastly, because I know we're talking about travel, and I know a lot of our listeners are definitely in the States, but we have an international audience too, especially for our national parks and, people coming over to Yosemite and things like that, and, all of these magical places we have. So for people coming into America, can they use this if they're from a different country?
Absolutely. Anybody in America, in the United States, can use this product, whether you're coming in from overseas, documented, undocumented, and obviously U.S. residents. Anybody can use it. We don't ask for Social Security numbers or anything like that. All you have to do is put in some basic information, have the ability to pay the small fee, and you're good to go. So it's great for people that are coming into this country that don't want to spend a lot of dollars at an urgent care. So anybody can use the product, and that's one of the great things about this.
Now, what happens if we cross the border? Because we like to do that. We like to cross over, just to say we went over to another place. Or, I know, especially we can go to Canada and Mexico very easy from here, but there's the Virgin Islands. And, what happens when we step out of the zone? Can we use this in some way? I know that maybe the pharmacy thing might be a little different because I know some of the pharmacies in Mexico. I don't know. I don't know if they could get the emails from doctors.
Yeah, it's a good question because we do have obviously customers that travel internationally, and one of the things that we found is that obviously you can't use the teledoc service because those are all U.S.-based doctors, and they can't. They're licensed by state, and so they're not licensed under federal guidelines to provide care outside of the boundaries of their license. So that's number one. The nurse line, it is an 800 number. So they could give you advice over the phone, but it is an 800 number, and you incur those international calling rates. The best way, and the way we found people actually get care when they're traveling overseas, is use the email service, because a lot of that is just advice, and they can tell you what you might want to do. And like you said, in Mexico, you can get prescriptions a lot easier. So they could tell you, hey, it looks like you might need some antibiotic, or here's what I would do if you have a stomach virus, that you can get that advice pretty easily through email.
It's like, hey, I went to China and I ate a scorpion, and now I don't feel good. Help. Well, it can happen. It can happen.
I've been to China. I know.
Did you eat the scorpion?
I did not eat the scorpion, so I did not have to use the service.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what is the last park that you've been to, whether it's a national park, a state park, county park, or a historic site? What was the last place that you've been to?
Well, I have to admit, I was just in Central Park today, so that was the last park that I've been in.
That is awesome. Central Park, I love that because it's an urban park and we need more of those in the world. The more we can have, the better. Everybody's quality of life will be heightened from that. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Arif. Everybody, again, helloalvin.com is the place to go and check it out. I think, all I know is when you go hiking, poison ivy, you were talking about that. I know all about it. It happens. I don't care. It's going to happen. So I would do this just for poison ivy and poison oak, So thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me, and hope everybody stays healthy.
Absolutely. You take care. So there you go, horse riding through the sequoias and national park gear for National Park Junkies and telehealth. What a great service. So I want to thank our guests for joining us, and thank you, listeners, as always, for joining us here on Big Blend Radio. You can keep up with us if you go to bigblendradio.com, our upcoming shows. Starting March, we will be airing live Monday through Thursday, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time or 7 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be shorter shows. And then Fridays and Sundays will stay at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, just a little bit more frequent. And, it's our 11th year, so we have to change something up here on Big Blend Radio. We are going to be back on Friday, February 23rd. It is our another installment of Parks and Travel, our Parks and Travel show. We're going to California Sequoia Country. We're going to talk about spring and early summer, and we've got some amazing guests joining us. We have Cynthia Kawasaki-Yi joining us. She is the Public Affairs Officer of Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. We have Denise Alonzo, who is from Giant Sequoia National Monument and Sequoia National Forest. In fact, she's been our tour guide through the National Forest, and it's going to be great to have her back on. Also, Gary Rogers from the Sequoia Park Conservancy will be joining us. So we're going to hear all about those giant sequoia trees, waterfalls, wildflowers, bird watching, bears, all that good stuff. So stay tuned for that. And also also for travel writer Hillary Larson's segment. She's going to talk about Whidbey Island in Washington. We're talking parks and nature, farm-to-table food, just beautiful scenery, that water, all of this just outside of Seattle. So it's such a beautiful region. So she talks about it being very mystical. So looking forward to our next segment with Hillary. Again, BigBlendRadio.com is the place to go. We're also, for traveling, go to nationalparktraveling.com and BlendRadioandTV.com, all with great articles and tips. I have destinations around the world and across our national park country here in America. So talking about national parks, Chaco Canyon, it's a cultural historical park up in northern New Mexico. So I wanted to play a song from the Tallmen Group from their first album, 12x6. Their albums are available on CD Baby, and take a listen to this. You're going to want them. They've got 3 albums out right now. Their latest one is Feast, and I'm sure they're getting ready for their 4th album, and we'll get them back on the show. But here it is, Chaco, and enjoy, and we'll catch you all on Friday. Thanks for joining us.
I remember these canyon walls. I remember desert wind. Though I've never been here before, it's good to be back here again. It's good to be back here again. Oh, Chaco, you were my home, and part of me still here, with these same eyes, but a different face in this place. The time is long since gone. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. Turquoise in my hand. I remember stars at night. I remember walking a dusty road. I don't remember how I died. I don't remember how I died. Oh, Chaco, you were my home, and part of me still here, with these same eyes, but a different face in this place. The time is long since gone. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. A glimpse behind the curtain, the shadow on the wall, a vision I can never grasp, a few pieces of the puzzle, fragments of the truth, these memories from my ancient past. Oh, Chaco, you were my home, and part of me is still here, with these same eyes, but a different face in this place. The time is long since gone. Oh, Chaco, you were my home. I remember